Hi guys, today we're going to talk about From Me to You. The American version is From Me to You, but the Japanese version is called Kimi ni Todoke, which actually translates to Reaching You. So there's a bit of a difference there. From Me to You is a slice of life high school drama anime about a girl named Sawako Kuranuma, which everyone or most of everyone calls Sadako. Sadako. The same name as the creepy girl from the original Japanese version of The Ring. Why? Because she looks like her. She does. And because of her creepy appearance and awkward behavior, it was just all a recipe for everyone, or most of everyone, to see her as that insanely creepy girl. In the show, we see Sawako grow from a painfully shy loner with a heart of gold into the life of the party, all while effectively creating a tight-knit group of friends along the way. I love this anime. It was adorable. I love the art. The storyline was cute and somewhat relatable. Ability to help me decompress because of the cuteness. The character that I want to talk about today is Sawako herself. I want to talk about what kind of issues she might have and the way she tries her best to handle them. In the first episode, we can put together that Sawako is seen as a weirdo, muy rara, who can see dead people. All judged her on her looks, coupled with her socially awkward personality, and she knows it. She's not a dummy, she knows it. Not only does she know this, but she feels sorry for the people that do believe that, because she knows that she cannot see ghosts. Tells you a lot about her character. She doesn't even care about the rumors, just that they aren't true. And she's not even upset about herself being in the rumors. She's just upset for the people who believe the rumors because they're not true. And upset, but it's for a different reason than it normally would be, right? And it tells you a lot about her kind heart. We see, in spite of her being as awkward as she is, she still tries to do things for other people and help everyone around her out. And despite the rumors, we can also see not everyone is scared of Miss Sawako. There is a girl childhood friend and a boy, yes, the love interest of the show, that treats Sawako in a friendly manner and with respect too. He does respect her. So we can see she does have the ability to make connections. It's just a little difficult for her. This gave me an idea to look up. Sawako Kuranuma has autism, and it was the #1 search recommendation. So that was funny. But it makes sense. It's pretty obvious that Sawako is probably autistic, though it was never diagnosed on the show. AI overview points out some of the traits that she has that could possibly classify her as autistic. Social awkwardness, low self-esteem, lack of social awareness, overanalyzing. Start with social awkwardness. Sawako has difficulty connecting with others and is often seen as an outcast. She may not always understand when she is being bullied. Sawako has low self-esteem, and this shows when she anticipates that people will see being with her as some kind of punishment. Lack of social awareness. Sawako has a lack of social awareness, and that's kind of apparent when she starts to make new connections when it comes to Shota and his feelings for her, how they kind of awkwardly butted heads in just a weird way because she just couldn't tell social cues in that situation. And then, of course, there was a bit of manipulation and how she couldn't tell from those social cues that this was kind of a person with not the best intentions. We'll get to that. Overanalyzing. Sawako tends to take words seriously and does overanalyze some situations. Although being a teenager and trying to figure out life and love and friendship can be overanalyzed from time to time, especially when raging hormones and trying to figure out how to be a decent person is involved. Don't forget, everybody here is in high school, so let's keep that in mind too. I feel that Sawako possibly being autistic is pretty good guess, maybe even spot on. That's just my guess, and apparently many others guess as well who are on forums and who are reviewing this. So let's get into some of the things Sawako does and says that hints to the possibility of autism in the first place. In the first episode, Sawako is stuck in a restroom stall in her high school while overhearing two girls gossip about how Sadako's name and physical appearance is so creepy, even though that's not her name. Okay, name is Sawako. It actually means cheerful child, which she is. She just doesn't physically look like it, especially when she's going through a tough time. How there is rumors of her seeing ghosts, and she's kind of sorry that she can't. Already an example of not really understanding social cues, like that she's being bullied and made fun of. This comes up again later when she goes to Chizu and Ayane to let them know that she wants to participate in their school's summer event, the Test of Courage, which is a summer event that kids go to during the summer in some woods and embark in the dark alone to face some kind of jump scare. And Sawako volunteers as tribute to be the ghost of the forest that scares all the kids. And after stating to Chizu and Ayane that she will be disappointing people due to her lack of ghost vision, Ayane laughs in her face, finding her lack of understanding funny, while Chizu, our tough softie, cries, thinking just how cute and sad this is. And we also get an obvious clue that Sawako might be lacking in social skills at the beginning of episode 2, when Sawako herself even admits to being socially shy and expressing a desire to change that. But before I get carried away, let's revisit what traits might point out signs of autism. I found some examples of signs and symptoms of autism in teens off of the asperis.co.uk website. Asperis is an organization that delivers high-quality, innovative education and care in safe and nurturing environments for international students with a range of conditions and special educational needs, including autism and dyslexia. Let's look over them and see if we can spot these behaviors in Sawako. Signs of autism in teenagers. So there's difficulty with social interaction and communication, which we see in different forms. So first form is problems forming friendships. At the beginning of the show, Sawako explains her difficulties with forming friendships and other relationships. 2, mistaking social cues or body language. This happens when Sawako has trouble understanding Chizu and Ayane after a big misunderstanding mixed with venomous rumors about Sawako spreading rumors about Chizu and Ayane. Girl, very low. 3, misinterpretation of conversations. This happens quite often, especially when it came to Shota trying to confess his romantic feelings for her, and also when she encounters the more manipulative characters like Ume and Kento. Moving on. 4, finding it easier to form friendships online. We only ever see her adventures in person and at school, never online. So we can't really make that judgment. Poor eye contact. This happened more during the beginning of the series, but as she became more social and confident, so did her body language. 6, expressing that they don't fit in. Otra vez. She did explain this to the audience at the beginning. That feeling started to diminish later on in the show. But also being a teenager, who doesn't feel like they don't fit in? You know, even especially at one time or another. But there's hints that she just felt that way pretty much her whole childhood, especially when it came to social situations and so her social life. Inflexibility or rigidity of thought, which is a black and white way of thinking. I would say yes, and again, more so at the beginning of the show, as her character started to develop her understanding that not everything is black and white. But despite that, Sawako's purity and loving nature never wavered. And then there's sensory processing difficulties. Experiencing sensory overload, e.g. finding the noise of school overwhelming. There was times when Sawako was under emotional distress and needed to find an isolated place to calm down, think, or cope with whatever issue she was dealing with at the time. An example would be when she thought she wasn't good enough for Shota due to her lack of social skills. She needed to go find a place to just get away from everything and be alone and kind of have that breakdown. Again, I feel like everybody kind of needs that time, especially when you're dealing with situations of the heart. It can just be really, or something that you really care about and you're just not getting that fulfilled. It could bring a person to a breakdown that needs to be, alone somewhere. Not everybody's going to be on their best behavior, especially life is hard and there are ups and downs. And we all need to kind of freak out from time to time. So just because you freak out doesn't mean that you're autistic. This is just one of the many symptoms. And we're going to go over that later. Moving on to being unable to cope with cues or crowds. She doesn't seem to have too bad of an issue with this later on in the show. Again, in this show, she does go through a transformative phase because she wants to. But in the beginning, she was a little shy. She did volunteer for taking care of the plants during summer break, and she stopped Shota from taking her job. He wasn't doing it maliciously. He was just like, hey, I'll do it. She does it all the time, just trying to do something nice. She's like, no, and she stood up and she said something, but she was looking down. She was locked on her hands. She was so shy, she couldn't make eye contact. And that just changes through the series. 3, sensitive to touch. We don't really see Sawako have an issue with sensory agitation. So that's good. I don't remember anything of her just being like, oh God, don't touch me right now. I can't handle it, There were times when her and Shota did touch, but that's because they were kind of in a romantic situation. And, when romance and touching is involved, especially when it comes to, growing up, you're in middle school, high school, and you're dealing with your crush. And, even touching hands could be like, oh my God, thing. And you kind of freak out a little bit. But I didn't see her having some kind of overwhelming urge of discomfort over sensory. 4, having difficulties with the planning and organization of their work, bag or school day. We see in the show that Sawako organization skills are on the high functioning side. She is top of her class and even helps her whole class study to get better grades. She's not having difficulty in that department. And could that be a thing? Could there be a high functioning? Yes, there is. Moving on, there's emotional difficulties. 1, low self-esteem. Definitivamente, she has this. Definitely shows it in a few times. We talked about it when it came to Shota and trying to make that love connection work. She showed that when those rumors were going around about Chizu and Ayane, and her friend from grade school asked her, hey, what's going on? People are saying you're talking about Chizu and Ayane like this. Aren't you their friends? And she's like, I don't no, they're not, But she didn't say that they're not because she didn't like them. She said they're not because she didn't think she was quite there to be called their friend. She didn't have that confidence to be like, yeah, absolutely, we're friends. I care about them, and I'm definitely part of the gang now. She didn't think that. She didn't feel that way. It wasn't because of them. It was because of her and her status in the social hierarchy of school and stuff, and her awkwardness. 2, difficulty or reluctance to express or label their own emotions. She has this issue with her friends during the misunderstanding and rumors. And of course, with Shota and other trialing situations she goes through. But she eventually figures out her feelings, and after some needed conversations, she figures others' emotional state as well. 3, levels of anxiety which seem excessive compared to the situation triggering them. I could say yes, but remember that there were some situations where some manipulative characters, Kento, Nume, got into her poor little head and to her poor little cabeza, low mood or depression. From time to time, but Sawako always tries her best to maintain her gentle and bright outlook on life. 4. The desire to withdraw from the outside world. Opposite. She tries her best to dive into it, desiring to find her niche and be a part of the community. And then there's overthinking, right? On thriveautismcoaching.com, an article called Why Neurodivergent People May Be More Prone to an Overactive Mind, written by Patty Losman, who is a coach, educator, and author and speaker on the topic of neurodiversity, lets us know overconnectivity. Some research suggests that neurodivergent individuals may have more connectivity in certain brain regions due to less synaptic pruning during adolescence and adulthood. This leads to an overabundance of information moving through the brain at the same time and more challenges related to filtering out irrelevant information. Though more research is needed, this can contribute to repetitive thinking of preservation, meaning the involuntary and persistent repetition of a thought, action, or word, even when the behavior is no longer appropriate. Not only do we hear other people tell Sawako that she overthinks things, but we also witness it. One significant time is on the Valentine's Day, when Sawako makes all her friends chocolates, including Shota. However, when she passes the treats out during class, she changes her mind about giving Shota his chocolates because of her feelings for him. She overthinks everything from how she made the chocolates, how she put in an extra one subconsciously, the implications that so much chocolate will have after she sees other girls in her school gifting Shota their chocolates, and of course the manner in how she will present the chocolates to her crush. This leads us into the rejection sensitivity. After Shota rejects a girl on Valentine's Day, Sawako's fear of rejection from Shota starts to take over her judgment of gifting him the chocolates at all. She finally comes to an understanding with herself. After Ume teases Sawako about the true intentions behind Sawako's chocolates, after Sawako accidentally eavesdrops on Kurumi gifting Shota her chocolates, Sawako comes to the realization all her anxiety of that day was caused because of her fear that Shota will turn her down, just like all the other interested girls before her. An article titled Autism Relationships, Dating as an Autistic Teen, 10 Tips for Helping Your Teen Navigate Dating and Intimacy by Dr. Lindsay Sterling and Sienna Whittam on www.autismspeaks.org describes the difficulty an autistic teen may have with reading and sending signals. It says, remember that social signals involved in dating and flirting can be complex, inconsistent, and subtle. Interpreting them presents a challenge for most everyone. It can be particularly difficult when autism interferes with the ability to read and respond to social signals. This can produce confusion in your teens and discomfort and frustration from others around them. When social cues are missed, your teen's dates may feel that their messages or feelings aren't being heard or validated. This happens in the series between Sawako and Shota. Lack of social cues and body language is also another. There is another example of Sawako not catching on to other people's actions and understanding why they act the way they act. In season 1, episode 17, when Sawako and the gang go over to Ping's house, fucking Ping, to help take care of him while he is sick with a cold, Sawako brings a bag of medicine and food to help Ping feel better. But before Sawako could apply any medicine aid to Ping's body or to help feed him, Shota steps in to do it instead. And he does it out of uncomfortable jealousy. However, Sawako is mesmerized and inspired by how caring Shota is towards Ping, not catching on to his jealousy at all. Another is when the gang is going to leave and Ping pulls Sawako to the side to tell her how Shota would really enjoy it if she would grab him by the arm, close her eyes, and count to 5. Sawako, our naive and innocent girly, does do this, not understanding that it is a combo of body language cues to instigate a kiss. Routines is also one. Raisingchild.net.au informs us that routines can be important to autistic children and teenagers who often need predictability and find it difficult to cope with change. For example, your autistic child might need to eat, sleep, or leave the house in the same way every time. They might feel unsettled, stressed, or upset if they can't follow their bedtime routine, go to school using the usual route, or put their clothes on in the usual order. Why special interests, routines, and rituals are good for autistic children and teenagers. Autistic children and teenagers enjoy their special interests. They might be proud of their skills and knowledge. They often do well in school subjects or jobs that relate to their interests. And their special interests can be a way to connect with other autistic people. For example, through interest-based social groups. Special interests, routines, rituals also help some autistic children and teenagers. For example, your autistic child might not understand what's going on around them and feel stressed. In these situations, special interests, routines, or rituals can give your child a sense of control. Likewise, if your child has trouble with planning or coping when they don't know what to expect, a routine or ritual can help feel more structured and predictable. This can comfort your child and reduce stress and anxiety. We see this in an episode where Sawako is showing us her interests during the weekend. She's interested in cleaning, baking, and exercising. All special interests she does in a routine way on her days off from school. This probably helps Sawako bring a comforting feeling of structure and control on days where there would be none without attending the well-structured school scheduled day. On all the official sites for autism diagnosis that I looked up for children, young adults, and adults, they all say the same thing, that it will take more than one way to secure a diagnosis of ASD. It involves multiple medical professionals, tests, as well as the person's past and present patterns of behaviors to get an official diagnosis. And maybe we can guess that Sawako is on the higher functioning end of autism due to her high cognitive functioning and her ability to give herself social goals to achieve and being able to counsel herself during stressful and confusing times. Unfortunately, the show never outright says Sawako has autism, just that she isn't so good with her social skills. Unlike Komi Can't Communicate, a similar theme anime where the narrator explains that Komi has a social phobia. I don't think that's the case with Sawako at all. And without a clear diagnosis about Sawako, all we are guessing from is her patterns in her action and how she thinks and feels about situations that happen around her in the show. So could all those people talking about Sawako's autism being a possibility be wrong? Maybe, but I also feel that they could be right. With that being said, how does her peculiar quirks affect Sawako's romantic life? We get lucky enough to find out in the show that Sawako's main love interest, Shota, Larukeda. We get more clues about Sawako's lack of understanding social cues when Ayane figures out the romantic connection between Shota and Sawako by episode 9. While it takes Shota and Sawako to finally come to a mutual understanding that they both have strong romantic feelings for each other by episode 11, season 2. And though there was a time Shota passionately admits his true feelings of love interest to Sawako, she takes it as a friendship type of love, not a romantic one. Again, another example of Sawako's probable autism, as it takes time for her to learn that she actually has a love crush on Shota, and even longer to actually get Shota's real feelings for her. We could say that being a teenager, discovering feelings of romance is in fact a learning experience for any young person. But if we are comparing experiences in the show, we can see that all the other characters have a grasp about what they're feeling and why, even if part of them doesn't, because, everyone is a teenager and learning feelings is hard. Sawako, however, cannot put a label on what she's feeling. The basic emotions, yes. Sad, mad, nervous, embarrassed, happy, but it does take her time to catch up to her feelings and why they are happening. Not only that, but Sawako also sees herself as an outcast for quite some time, as she has been bullied pretty much all her school life for being socially awkward and creepy looking. So this does add more confusion and self-distancing with Sawako and her romantic feelings for Shota. Let's not forget the manipulation of a few characters to break up the blossoming romance. You had a hard time catching on to that. Actually, I don't think she ever caught on. I think they just gave up because they're just like, you poor fucking thing. I've been doing it this whole time. I've been making your life kind of hell. Ugh, yeah. Yeah. All in all, we have seen some issues being dealt with between Shota and Sawako during the courtship, and how Sawako deals with Shota during when he's suddenly distancing himself within the relationship. There was a small time during this period at the start, Sawako would make excuses for him, but as his mood soars and the distance grows, she starts to do some digging and even asks advice on what might be happening and tries her best to deal with the situation. And because they are so young, I can see how later issues may present themselves as time goes by and life starts to naturally guide them separate ways. I could also see how Sawako's gentle and meek nature, along with her social awkwardness, could play a role in having some issues dealing with those hurdles. But because of her determination and kindness, I can also see how Sawako would find a way to deal with whatever problem comes her way, even in her romantic relationship. And in fact, the National Library of Medicine's research paper called Factors of Relationship Satisfaction for Autistic and Non-Autistic Partners in Long-Term Relationships, written by Rui Ying Wei, I'm sorry if I botched that, Marilyn Hooley, sorry, Mark A. Stokes, I think I got that one right, tell us the big 5 traits: agreeableness, consciousness, extroversion, openness to experience, and emotional stability, i.e., the opposite of neuroticism, are positively associated with relationship satisfaction. A challenge for autistic people, as they tend to score lower on these dimensions compared to non-autistic individuals. Communication differences have also been observed in autistic individuals, and communication issues have been reported as a barrier to intimacy and relationship satisfaction by autistic individuals and their non-autistic partners. And though we do see this in Sawako's relationship with Soto, we do witness both of their determination to keep the love alive. Just because there may be issues, not just on Sawako's side, but on both sides, doesn't mean that the relationship is worthless and not worth fighting for, you know? Just as long as the desire for mutual understanding and the hope in having that relationship successfully flourishes there, then I don't see why it can't be a successful relationship. Conclusion: is Sawako autistic? It seems from many forums, and even I think, that there's a high possibility that she is. And how will that affect her relationships, romantic and not? There will probably be times of misunderstandings and issues from not just her end, but on the end of the other person. That will come into play. But everyone has issues in their relationships. It is a normal thing that occurs, and with some love, understanding, and determination, we can figure it out, just like Sawako always seems to do. That's my video for today. I actually had a video idea on another couple of people here. It'd be Chizu and Ryu, and I want to do a video on them. I think it would be interesting, especially since we go into the relationship from childhood to, high school, nearing adulthood and stuff, and how that's changed. I think it would be a really interesting one. But the next video I'm going to do is from Romantic Killer. Well, that's the English. That's what it's called English-wise. Japanese-wise, I don't know. I didn't do my research, sorry. But Romantic Killer. And it's not the main character. It's a side character I want to do my research on. So stay tuned for that. As far as Sawako being autistic, what do you think about it? Is this an insult? Or is this something that's kind of like a natural curiosity in this anime show, Also, Comey can't communicate. That would be a good one too. There's a lot. There's so many people I could do it on. Anyways, have a good day. I'll see you in the next one. Thank you for, hitting over 600 people in my last video. That was crazy. I got a lot of interactions there. I really like doing these videos and I'm excited to do it again. Bye. Buenos dias, buenas tardes, and buenas noches. And I'll see you in el próximo video.